Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive, where we take a stack of highly practical, real-world source material, in this case, transcribed conversations from experienced global travelers, and boil them down into a concise, action-oriented playbook for you.
That's right. Our mission today is really laser focused on efficiency and effectiveness. We are synthesizing the most successful communication strategies, and we're trying to move far beyond just, vocabulary lists.
Right. This isn't about memorizing 50 ways to say hello.
Exactly. We're drilling down into conversational architecture, how you structure your requests, your confirmations, and even your complaints to ensure smooth interactions abroad.
And we've got some fascinating settings for this deep dive. I mean, the rapid-fire logistics of Tokyo, the respectful negotiations of Bangkok.
The culinary culture of Rome, and of course the navigational challenges of a city like London. It's all about extracting the strategies that turn those, confusing moments into confident, successful transactions.
The source material we're working with comes from two very insightful travelers who shared their experiences globally. One of them is from Melbourne, Australia.
Right, Melbourne, a city known for its vibrant, sort of laid-back coastal culture, incredible coffee, and a very, let's say, direct communication style.
And the other traveler is from Portland, Oregon, in the U.S., which is known for, I guess, a quirkier, maybe more conscientious culture, a booming food scene, and a distinct appreciation for subtle social cues.
And that juxtaposition is immediately valuable for you, the listener, because it means the strategies we're about to analyze are, well, they're battle-tested against two very different communication norms.
So you have the slightly more blunt, good-humored Australian approach.
And then the often more cautious, maybe highly polite approach of the American traveler. But they both come to the same conclusion. They both emphasize that genuine fluency in communication, the strategy of it, is what truly unlocks authentic travel experiences.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can communicate clearly, you stop being just a tourist looking at a place from the outside.
Yeah. You become a traveler. You're genuinely interacting with it.
And that's where the best memories, the best local tips, all of that comes from. We're not teaching a language today. We're teaching the most efficient ways to use the language you already have.
So let's jump straight into that first crucial checkpoint. Mastering those initial logistical hurdles, the ones you hit right when you arrive in a new country.
Okay, so the journey begins before you even land. I love this part of the source material. It breaks down how to start a conversation on a long-haul flight, say, heading to Tokyo. And this isn't just about killing time with small talk.
No, not at all. It's positioned as an immediate, high-yield information-gathering strategy.
Right. So how does it work?
Well, the scenario starts with basic sort of transactional politeness. Is this seat taken, or confirming the seat number? But the immediate pivot to an open-ended question is the crucial strategic move here.
And the question is so simple.
It's incredibly simple. Are you heading to Tokyo for business or pleasure? That one question is just an engine for information.
It's fascinating because the question isn't overly personal, but it gives the other person, in this case, it was a character named Michael, an international business consultant returning home. It gives him a clear, easy pathway to share. It just transforms the dynamic instantly.
And that's the main takeaway we want to hammer home for you. People generally love to share their knowledge, particularly about their hometown. They really do, especially if they see you as a respectful learner.
So if he says, I'm returning home for business.
Well, you've just established his authority on, say, local logistics or corporate culture. If he says he's going for pleasure, you've established a potential shared interest in tourism, food, or relaxation. Either way, you've opened a door.
We know from a lot of feedback that experienced travelers often struggle to get recommendations that move beyond the really obvious stuff, the guidebook sites.
Right. Everyone knows the main tourist spots.
So this open-ended question, followed up with a targeted request, seems to solve this. Instead of asking, so what should I see? Which is just way too broad.
You'll get a generic answer to a generic question.
Exactly. So you ask, since you live here, what is a restaurant or a spot that you take your own family to on a quiet Sunday afternoon?
That phrasing is key. It's so good. It signals genuine interest, it shows respect for the locals' time, and it filters out the generic tourist traps. You're asking for a trusted, almost private experience.
Yeah.
And that is far more likely to yield that insider information that truly elevates your trip. It's a little mechanism of trust building through humility.
That makes perfect sense. So, okay, you've successfully leveraged your curiosity on the flight. Now you land. The next big logistical hurdle is the hotel. The scenario they role-played checking into the Grand Pacific Hotel is just a masterclass in establishing clarity through confirmation.
It really is. And the process has to start with crystal clear communication from you, the guest. I have a reservation under the name Sarah Thompson. It's not just a polite statement. That's the anchor point for the entire transaction.
And the receptionist's response is what our sources call the confirmation checklist. I want to pause here because this checklist, if you can deliver it and verify it correctly, it probably eliminates 90% of future hotel disputes.
I think that's a fair number. Let's break down those 5 essential pieces of information that have to align, and maybe more importantly, the strategic priority of those items. So the receptionist confirms.
First, the name.
The name, right. Sarah Thompson. That verifies your identity. Simple enough.
Somewhat.
Then the duration. 5 nights, checking out on the 23rd. This, I would argue, is the highest priority. It impacts billing, and it impacts the hotel's future availability.
That's a great point. I think a lot of people just assume the hotel has it right.
They do, and that's a mistake. After that comes the room type. A deluxe room, in this case, that's a high priority. It ensures you get the comfort level you actually paid for.
And then the view or the amenities.
Right, an ocean view. That's a medium priority. It manages your immediate expectation of the amenity, but it's not as critical as, the number of nights you're being billed for.
And finally, special requests. Things like a late checkout or connecting rooms.
Exactly. That priority analysis is just so critical. If there's a disagreement, confirming the duration, the 5 nights, takes precedence. It directly affects the hotel's revenue, their housekeeping schedule, everything. If you had only booked 3 nights, correcting that before the key is handed over prevents a massive headache later when the bill comes.
Our analysis shows that travelers often just glide right over step number 2, the duration and the checkout date, because they assume the hotel knows.
But receptionists are dealing with dozens, sometimes hundreds of reservations every day. Just take the extra 5 seconds, verify the date, especially for longer stays or for ones that cross over into a new month.
So once the room is confirmed, in the script it was room 1407 on the 14th floor, the conversation moves naturally to essential logistics. I noticed they immediately ask about breakfast times.
Served on the ground floor from 6:30 to 10:30 a.m. It's all about setting expectations and getting necessary operational information. You don't want to show up for breakfast at 10:35.
And here's where the expert traveler pulls the same trick as on the airplane. They leverage the staff's local knowledge after the main transaction is complete.
Right. The guest didn't just grab the keys and run. They politely asked, do you have a personal recommendation for dinner nearby? Specifically something, local.
And the result was a booking at the Blue Marlin, a seafood restaurant 2 blocks away, specializing in locally caught fish. This is just conversational efficiency at its finest, isn't it?
It is. You've checked a logistical box and you've gained a personalized, high-quality local insight within a single 2-minute exchange.
So the overall takeaway for you listening is be courteous, be crystal clear, and always use that confirmation checklist to verify the essential details of your booking right away.
Then use the staff's expertise as your personal, highly vetted concierge service for recommendations that go way beyond the guidebook.
Okay, so having mastered the fixed-price world of the hotel and the airplane, let's move to a situation that requires a lot more flexibility. And reading the room and some quick mental math. The friendly art of negotiation in a place like Bangkok.
This scenario, set in a Bangkok street market while buying genuine Thai silk scarves, it just beautifully outlines how to engage in bargaining with respect. It's so vital to understand that this is a social, often humorous dance. It's not a hostile confrontation.
The goal isn't to win.
No. The goal is a fair price that respects the vendor's time and livelihood.
Okay, let's unpack the specific flow they modeled, because the numbers here really reveal the psychology behind it. The vendor started high, 800 baht per scarf.
But their first move was a voluntary drop, a special price of 650 baht.
Why do they do that? What's the strategy?
Well, analyzing that initial drop is key. 800 down to 650 baht is, about a 19% reduction? This is the vendor establishing a kind of floor. They're making you, the tourist, feel like you've already received a significant discount, often before the negotiation has even officially started.
It's a goodwill gesture.
It is. And then the tourist countered at 500 baht. Now, why 500?
Because they'd done their homework.
They'd done their homework. The traveler had done their preparation and researched the realistic grade line for similar silk scarves. They knew it was likely in the 550 to 600 baht range.
So that 500 baht offer isn't just a random lowball.
Not at all. A 500 baht counter offer is a 38% reduction from the original 800 baht price, and it's a 23% reduction from the vendor's current 670 baht offer. It is strategically low. It allows the vendor to politely reject it, which they did, citing the very high quality of the silk, but it still signals that the tourist is serious and, more importantly, informed.
And then they landed on a really brilliant compromise. The tourist pivoted from a single-item negotiation to a bulk purchase. They proposed buying 2 scarves.
And that shifted the whole dynamic. The final price was settled at 550 baht each.
That is the power of adding value, isn't it? The vendor secured a 16% discount from their special price, which feels like a win to the traveler.
But the vendor secured 2 sales instead of 1. It's a classic win-win situation, and it's all based on respect and volume.
It's crucial to remember that this technique of respectful bargaining isn't just for Thailand, right? The source material notes this practice is integral to markets all across Asia, Africa, parts of Latin America.
Even some parts of Southern Europe.
Hey.
So our key tips for the learner are nuanced. First, always negotiate with a genuine smile and good humor. If the vendor laughs, you're doing it right.
And if they look annoyed,
You're pushing too hard or you're being insulting, you have to be able to read that room.
second, respect the vendor's livelihood. Never negotiate down to some ridiculously low amount that makes the transaction pointless for them.
Absolutely. I mean, if the difference between their last offer and your final offer is less than 50 cents in your home currency, it is just so much better to concede and build that goodwill.
And the third, most critical tip is the preparation we just talked about. Research typical local prices beforehand to establish that realistic baseline. If you walk into a negotiation knowing the item is actually worth around 500 baht, you won't fall for that 800 baht starting price.
Knowledge is power, but when you execute it with courtesy, it's success.
And before you finalize the transaction, always clarify payment. Asking, do you accept credit cards or is it cash only, is necessary.
So necessary, because cards often incur a small, maybe 3 or 5% extra charge, which you should really factor into your final negotiation price.
Absolutely. Okay, so having wrapped up the market transaction, let's move to perhaps the most universal challenge travelers face. Asking for directions when you are genuinely lost.
Yeah.
Our scenario here involves a tourist lost in London trying to find the British Museum.
Yes. This is where polite opening protocol becomes a strategic asset. You can't just run up to someone and say, "Where's the museum?"
Right. Starting with, excuse me, or more formally, in a busy city like London, I'm terribly sorry to bother you, but could you assist me? It immediately shows respect for that person's time.
And that little bit of formality can be key, especially when you compare the cultural approaches of our source travelers. The Melbourne host might approach with, "Hey mate, quick question, where's the British Museum?"
Which will work in a lot of casual settings.
It would. But the Portland host's slightly more cautious, deferential approach, "I'm sorry to bother you," that's the universal insurance policy. It's guaranteed to get you help in a busy metropolis like London.
The directions given by the local in the script are fantastic for visualizing a mental map. They break it down into 4 simple movements, and they provide distinct landmarks.
Let's walk through it. It was right onto Southampton Row, straight for about 5 minutes, then left onto Great Russell Street.
And here's the key part. The museum is on the right, a huge building with impressive columns.
That last detail, a huge building with impressive columns, is crucial. When you're getting directions, you have to listen for the visual landmark. If the directions are only street names, they are so much harder to confirm and verify while you're walking. The visual cue confirms you've arrived.
But honestly, when you're lost and you're anxious, repeating 4 complex steps back to a stranger feels incredibly awkward. I mean, it risks sounding like you're patronizing them. Do the sources suggest a less intimidating technique than just repeating the whole sequence back?
That's an excellent point, and yes, they do. The full repetition, so right at the intersection, straight for 5 minutes. That is the gold standard, for sure. But when anxiety is high, the sources recommend something they call the micro-confirmation technique.
Okay, tell me about that.
It's simple. You only confirm the first crucial step or two. You interrupt politely and say, "Right, so just to confirm, I take the immediate right onto Southampton Row," and just keep walking.
I see.
Once the local confirms that first leg, you can let the rest of the directions sit in your short-term memory. If you get that first intersection correct, you're usually halfway to solving the problem. It just mitigates the anxiety while ensuring accuracy.
That's a brilliant strategy. It breaks the task down into manageable pieces. And I also noticed the local provided a crucial backup plan in this scenario.
Indeed. The local didn't just offer walking directions, which were about 10 minutes. They also suggested the tube, noting the nearest station is Holborn, accessible via the Central and Piccadilly lines, just a 3-minute walk from the museum.
This ability to provide multiple options, walking or public transport, is invaluable. And that's a vital insight for you, the traveler. Always aim to know multiple ways to get to a destination.
Right. What if it suddenly starts pouring rain, or that 5-minute walk is straight uphill? Knowing the tube stop, Holborn, allows for that necessary flexibility.
It's the difference between being a panicked tourist and a prepared traveler. Always ask, what are the alternatives if I don't feel like walking? Or is there a faster way? It just ensures you have options for fatigue or any unforeseen obstacles.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to what is often the most personal and rewarding part of a trip: food. But dining out in a foreign country can be so overwhelming if you don't know the etiquette or the menu. They set the scene beautifully for this one. Ristorante Bella Vista, a traditional Italian place in Rome.
And the central strategy in this section is all about leveraging the staff's expertise. As a knowledgeable traveler, you know that just ordering the first thing you recognize on the menu is, well, it's a waste of a dining opportunity.
You have to ask targeted questions that get you to the local secrets.
You do. When the customer in the scenario asked for a local white wine recommendation, the waiter offered two carefully nuanced options. They weren't just offering Chardonnay or Pinot Grigio.
Right, the global standards.
Exactly. They recommended Vermentino from Sardinia, described as crisp, refreshing, and ideal with seafood, or Sauvé from Veneto, which was a lighter, perhaps more traditional choice. That depth comes from regional pride and knowledge. You're getting a curated experience just by asking the right question.
And the question was key. It was something like, which regional white wine is drinking exceptionally well right now?
That's the one. And for food, the waiter immediately went beyond the standard lasagna. They highlighted their signature local dishes, cacio e pepe,
A Roman classic.
the quintessential Roman pasta dish, just pecorino romano cheese and black pepper, and saltimbocca alla romana veal cutlets topped with prosciutto and sage.
Let's pause on cacio e pepe for a second. Why is that an important recommendation? What does it signal?
Because it epitomizes Roman cooking.
Yeah.
It's all about maximizing flavor from minimal, high-quality local ingredients. By ordering that, you are engaging with the true culinary history of the region. You're not just eating pasta, you're eating Rome.
They also suggested a fantastic appetizer that so many tourists miss: suppli.
Those fried rice balls stuffed with mozzarella. And the waiter correctly identified it as a Roman street food classic. This entire exchange guarantees a more authentic and higher quality dining experience than just pointing at a picture on the menu.
Okay, so now let's transition to the really crucial communication challenge: dietary restrictions. The source material tackled gluten sensitivity, which is a common and potentially serious issue for travelers.
And the expert traveler must state that restriction clearly and then follow up with highly specific questions. This is where you have to shift your communication style.
Right. We move from polite inquiry to essential clarity. The traveler needs to move from a generalized statement like, I have a sensitivity, to a really specific, actionable question.
The traveler in the source asked, is the pasta in the cacio e pepe made with regular wheat flour, or is there an alternative? And then a follow-up. Also, do you take precautions against cross-contamination in the kitchen?
That clarity is what matters. It's not an accusation, it's a request for information. And the server confirmed that the traditional pasta does contain gluten, but crucially, because the restriction was clearly stated as a sensitivity, the restaurant immediately offered a resolution.
And the resolution was textbook. The restaurant offered to use gluten-free pasta, and this is the critical part, they ensured the chef would be informed personally about the sensitivity.
Why is that personal information so important?
Because it's about managing preparation and avoiding cross-contamination from cooking surfaces or shared utensils. A line cook might not understand the nuance, but telling the chef directly guarantees it's taken seriously.
That detail about the chef being personally informed is the real litmus test, isn't it? It shows whether the restaurant truly understands the restriction versus just, trying to appease a picky customer.
Our expert tip here cannot be overstated. Never assume ingredients, even in seemingly simple dishes. Always communicate your needs clearly, and do it in advance. You're asking the kitchen to go through extra steps, so doing it politely and early is essential.
And most reputable restaurants globally are happy to accommodate, but they need that specific advance warning.
And think about the social payoff here. A well-communicated dietary need doesn't just prevent an illness. It often strengthens the relationship with the waiting staff. They then feel invested in ensuring you have a superb, safe meal.
That personal investment can lead to even better service or maybe extra local tips about what to see the next day.
It turns a potential point of anxiety into a collaboration. By being specific, you empower the staff to help you effectively.
Right. So while we all aim for smooth sailing, challenges are, well, inevitable. The source scenarios provided a really powerful demonstration of professional complaint resolution. A hotel guest in room 307 faced non-standard service. This requires linguistic precision, not emotional venting.
The key communication rule is to maintain calmness and politeness while being factually clear and specific. The guests didn't storm into the lobby shouting about their bad trip. They stated two specific, verifiable issues that needed immediate attention.
And the two facts were, first, the air conditioning is not working, making the room uncomfortably warm. And second, the bathroom shower has noticeably low water pressure. These are quantifiable defects in service. They're not opinions.
And by maintaining this professional, fact-based tone, the manager could immediately transition into collaborative problem solving. The manager acknowledged the problems, apologized sincerely, saying, "I apologize for this lapse in service. That is unacceptable," and then immediately offered two concrete solutions.
Send maintenance up right now or move the guest to a new room.
Right. That response, the sincere apology followed by immediate options, is the gold standard for hospitality staff. But the guest in this scenario was strategic. They knew they had an early start the next morning.
So waiting for maintenance wasn't ideal.
Exactly. So the guests needed to exercise their right to decline that initial offer politely. They said something like, "While I appreciate the maintenance offer, I need to be ready for an early start tomorrow. Is moving rooms a faster and more permanent solution?"
That language is great because it shifts the interaction from a personal confrontation to a collaborative effort. It's focused on logistical efficiency. And the optimal outcome they modeled was a clear win for the guest.
A huge win. The guest was upgraded to a superior room on the 8th floor with a city view at no additional charge.
And crucially, the manager provided an additional act of contrition to restore that goodwill.
A credit for one night's accommodation as an apology for the severe inconvenience. This exchange just proves that calm, fact-based communication yields far superior results compared to anger or aggression.
That phrase we identified earlier is so potent, isn't it? I understand this isn't your fault personally, but
It's a magic phrase. It immediately shifts the interaction from a personal blame game to a systemic issue that the guest and the staff can solve together. It establishes you as an ally who is simply looking for a solution.
okay, so moving from accommodation issues to something far more complex, logistics. Let's look at navigating complex transport systems. The Japan case study of traveling from Tokyo to Kyoto via Shinkansen, the bullet train, is perfect for this.
This scenario is all about the importance of asking a nuanced question, especially when you're holding a tourist product like the Japan Rail Pass. If you just walk up to the ticket agent and ask for the fastest train, you're going to end up paying significantly more than you need to.
Why is that? What's the trap?
The nuance lies in the difference between the two main high-speed options. The Nozomi Shinkansen is the fastest. It takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it costs $13,320. However, and this is the critical detail that the sources emphasize, it is not covered by the JR Pass.
And the alternative is the Hikari Shinkansen.
Right. It's slightly slower, takes about 3 hours, and it's a little cheaper if you're paying cash. But most importantly, it is covered by the JR Pass.
So for the traveler, that 30-minute difference in travel time is the difference between riding for free and paying, what, over $100?
Exactly. So the knowledgeable traveler has to specifically ask the agent which fast train is covered by the JR Pass, not which train is fastest.
This reveals a systemic complexity, doesn't it? The Nozomi is often excluded because it caters primarily to high-volume Japanese business travelers. It's maximizing efficiency and revenue on the busiest routes.
Exactly right. Excluding it from the tourist pass is a calculated economic policy decision. It's not an oversight. And understanding that context helps you, the traveler, not feel cheated, but simply understand the rules of the system you bought into.
So once the Hikari was chosen as the optimal choice, the reservation details became super precise. The traveler received a ticket departing at 9:23 a.m., arriving 12:31 p.m., and the seat details were all confirmed.
Window seat, non-smoking car 7, seat 12A, departing from platform 14. This level of detail ensures zero confusion.
The pro tip here seems foundational. Don't be embarrassed to ask for clarification, especially about passes and ticket details.
Oh, never. If you have a JR pass, you should be asking at the dedicated information or tourist help desks. In Japan, they're known as the Midorino Metaguchi.
Because if you leave that counter feeling even a little unsure about the car number or the platform,
You are setting yourself up for immense stress in a busy, multi-platform station like Tokyo or Shinagawa. It's so much better to verify that platform 14 detail 3 times than to be running around the station with 3 minutes until departure.
finally, let's talk about the unavoidable. The cultural gaffes. The scenario involves inadvertently breaking a cultural norm at a temple in Thailand, specifically pointing one's feet at a Buddha statue.
This is a fantastic teaching moment in the source material, and it's important to understand the why. Why are the feet disrespectful?
Tell us.
Well, in many Buddhist cultures, the head is considered the most sacred, highest part of the body. The feet are the lowest, the dirtiest, they're closest to the ground. So pointing your feet or the soles of your shoes at a person, or worse, a sacred image like a Buddha, is considered deeply offensive regardless of your intention.
So the key to resolving this cultural gaffe is the immediate, humble response. A local monk or staff member politely points out the mistake, and the traveler's response must follow a 3-part protocol.
Stop the action, apologize sincerely, and immediately learn more.
The phrasing they modeled was perfect. It was, "I'm so sorry, I genuinely didn't know that. Thank you so much for telling me."
The key is the gratitude. You have to show genuine thanks for the correction. That's what transforms a potential insult into a learning opportunity.
I think that humility is what immediately diffuses the situation,
Right.
especially when you contrast it with the defensive reaction some tourists might have, well, I didn't know.
Right. And then the traveler uses the moment to proactively ask, what else should I know about etiquette here?
That move, proactively asking for more guidance, is a sign of immense respect. And this prompted the local to mention removing shoes before entering the main hall, dressing modestly, shoulders and knees covered even if it's hot outside, and speaking quietly within the sanctuary.
The expert conclusion here is definitive. Locals globally appreciate it when visitors are willing to learn and show respect for local norms. A sincere apology and an immediate adjustment are the crucial steps. You acknowledge the mistake, you thank the person for the education, and you change your behavior instantly.
So we've covered the logistics, the transactions, and the challenges. Now let's look at the ultimate, most rewarding payoff of strong communication, making genuine, lasting connections on the road.
The final source scenario was a classic one, wasn't it? Socializing in a hostile common room. A traveler from Chicago meeting the Melbourne traveler we talked about earlier.
The flow of conversation they modeled is beautiful in its natural progression. It provides a great template for social engagement.
It really does. It starts with a simple introduction. Where are you from? And then moves quickly to finding a shared passion. I see you've been traveling Southeast Asia too.
And then it dives into specific experiences and planning.
They immediately found common ground by sharing highlights, which sort of serves as a credibility check. They discussed Vietnam street food in Hanoi, Halong Bay, and trekking in northern Thailand. This shared context moves the conversation beyond basic small talk and into the realm of shared knowledge.
And crucially, this exchange led to a concrete, high-value recommendation. When the Chicago traveler expressed interest in trekking, the Melbourne traveler didn't just give a vague suggestion.
No, they recommended a specific company, Green Mountain Adventures in Chiang Mai. And they noted 2 things the discerning traveler really cares about: the difficulty rating, which was moderate, and their commitment to sustainable, responsible tourism.
That detail about sustainability shows the depth of the shared interest. It's personalized advice, vetted by a fellow traveler who clearly shares similar values. It's so much more valuable than anything you could find in a general internet search.
This is the true dividend of conversational travel. It leads directly to a richer, safer, and more meaningful experience. And it culminated in a concrete social plan, going to the night market together later that evening.
The interaction moves from strangers to collaborators in less than 10 minutes.
And the broader implication here is immense. English serves as the essential common language for travelers from all these diverse countries. These confident, well-structured introductions turn into shared experiences, concrete planning, and lasting friendships, regardless of whether the travelers are from Australia, Germany, Japan, or the US.
It creates a global network of shared knowledge and support.
And that entire stream of collaborative planning, social events, and crucial insider recommendations is only unlocked by having the confidence to start that initial conversation with a polite, open-ended question.
We've done a significant deep dive today. We've pulled apart precise conversational architecture from, Tokyo train stations to Roman restaurants and analyzed the psychology of bargaining in Bangkok.
Here.
If we synthesize everything we've learned, what are the overarching high-value takeaways?
I think successful global travel communication hinges on the 3 Cs: clarity, confirmation, and courtesy.
Let's break those down.
Okay. Clarity when you're stating your needs or your problems, especially with dietary or service issues. Confirmation when you're repeating directions, dates, or reservation details to avoid mistakes. And courtesy in all interactions, especially when you're making a complaint or when you're being corrected culturally.
So, reiterate the value proposition for the learner. Why did we spend this time dissecting these precise phrases and percentages?
Because confidence in these conversational strategies unlocks richer, more meaningful, and authentic travel experiences. It allows you to move beyond the tourist bubble and truly connect with locals, with staff, and with your fellow travelers.
The material really showed how these precise communication habits, asking the targeted questions, confirming the booking details, humbly accepting a correction, are the mechanisms that transform a routine trip into a collaborative, maybe even a life-changing one. And as we close this deep dive, let's leave you with one final thought, based on the highly detailed scenarios we reviewed. The sources demonstrated repeatedly that perfection is absolutely never the goal. The goal is the willingness to engage, to communicate, and to respect the culture you encounter.
We saw how a minor mistake at a temple led not to embarrassment, but to a major opportunity for mutual learning and respect.
So consider this. How many potentially life-changing recommendations, like that specific regional Vermentino wine, or the details on the sustainable Green Mountain Adventures trek, or finding a great local seafood spot 2 blocks from your hotel, are only available to the traveler who's willing to overcome their fear of asking questions?
If you are anxious about repeating directions, just remember the micro-confirmation technique. If you are worried about bargaining, remember the power of that compromise percentage.
So if every mistake is a stepping stone to cultural fluency and a deeper experience, what valuable memory are you avoiding by not making the next necessary mistake? Go out there, ask the specific question, confirm the nuanced details, and embrace the adventure.
Safe travels and keep exploring.